I'm Ben Meiselas from the MeidasTouch Network. Historic humiliation yesterday for MAGA Republican Jim Jordan as he was resoundingly rejected as Speaker of the House. 20 Republican defections, far more than expected yesterday. And the Democratic leader, Hakeem Jeffries, actually received more votes than MAGA Republican Jim Jordan, sending a very, very powerful statement. The list you see there on the screen are the 20 Republicans who voted for somebody other than Jim Jordan. And rather than try to forge a compromise with Democrats, rather than try to avoid further humiliation, Jim Jordan is back at it today in another round of votes, which is expected shortly. And from all the data that we are gathering right now, as you look at the floor of the House of Representatives, it seems that Jim Jordan is going to be humiliated once again, perhaps humiliated far more than he was humiliated even yesterday, and even far more than Kevin McCarthy was humiliated. But I guess if you have no shame, how could your conduct be shameful? I do want to reflect, of course, though, this is horrifically embarrassing to our country in general. And make no mistake, there are no both sides to this issue. This is a Republican civil war. Republicans hating Republicans, as Democrats have been united and stated that they are ready to work to make a deal that does not empower MAGA extremists. And that's where we are at right now, folks. I will show you from yesterday the moment where it became official, and Patrick McHenry, the pro temp Speaker of the House after Kevin McCarthy was ousted, banged the gavel, and it became clear that MAGA Republican Jim Jordan did not have the votes. Play the clip.
The tellers agree in their tallies that the total number of votes cast is 432, of which the Honorable Jim Jordan of the state of Ohio has received 200 votes. The Honorable Hakeem Jeffries of the state of New York has received 212 votes. The Honorable Kevin.
It's Patrick McHenry there, Republican member of Congress, and many have been floating McHenry's name as a compromise, as someone who can be given limited powers to function not just as a pro temp, but as an actual Speaker of the House with limited powers, just so that the House of Representatives can open again and conduct business and engage in critical appropriations. Like, let's not forget, we are 30 days away again from another government shutdown after the 45-day prior continuing resolution lapses. And that's where we're at. Let me show you this clip right here. This is Republican Ken Buck. And Ken Buck is being asked by Dana Bash. And well, you'll hear Ken Buck saying, I could show you 19 other videos of all these other Republicans who are basically saying the same thing, but they've all been asked, are you going to change your vote? Are you going to support Jim Jordan? Are you sure? Are you sure you're not going to support Jim Jordan? Watch this clip here of Ken Buck.
Company excluded. What does he have to do? Talk about the challenges and the desires and the pressure points that he's under. I know for you in particular, it's multiple issues, right? It's spending, it's about Ukraine, it's also about election denialism.
Absolutely. Yeah, I had a nice 30, 40-minute conversation with Jim last night. It is not personal. I have a lot of respect for Jim, and we both have sort of risen in the conservative movement and share many of the values of the conservative movement. I think that what Jim Jordan needs to do is to stop talking about defunding the Department of Justice. We pride ourselves on being a party of the rule of law. You can't defund the Department of Justice or defund a special counsel's office in the Department of Justice and talk about the value that we share. So there are a number of different issues related to the election and some not related to the election.
You are a hard no? I mean, is there anything that he can do, anything that he can promise, any change that he can make to get your vote?
I will not vote for Jim Jordan.
No way. Yeah, no way. Okay.
And here is Congressmember Republican Mario Diaz-Balart. And if we go to that list that we were showing you of the Republicans who voted no, there you see Diaz-Balart. He voted for Steve Scalise, even though Steve Scalise is not running for Speaker of the House, just a way to vote against Jim Jordan. Here is Diaz-Balart, Republican from Florida, stating that not only is he not supporting Jim Jordan, but the resolve by others to not support Jim Jordan has only grown since yesterday when Jim Jordan lost the speaker vote. Play the clip.
We are. The second thing that I think is pretty clear is that this candidate does not and will not be able to get the Republican votes to become speaker. So then now I think all of us have to get together and figure out what's the next step.
Can I just clarify? So do you...
And so what we expect to happen today is there will be another round of votes shortly. You're going to see the morning prayer take place, and I'm going to see all of the comments about saying, why are they doing prayers in the House of Representatives? It's always interesting when you cover the House of Representatives and you see that and you go, hey, I thought there's supposed to be a separation of church and state, but I'll prepare you for that. That'll be happening shortly. And then they're going to gavel in for the day. Then there will be usually an initial quorum vote to make sure that how many people are there. And let's go to the House floor.
The prayer will be offered by Chaplain Kibben.
Would you pray with me? Speak to us, O Lord. Speak to us in words we can hear and understand, for the cacophony of chaos has overwhelmed our ability to receive your guidance and discern your direction. Remind us of your servant Ezra, who, in embarking on a perilous future, petitioned God and then proclaimed a fast, calling the people to humble themselves before you, that you would lead and protect them on the journey. We often call to mind your reluctant servant Esther, but remind us that when she was faced with the annihilation of her people and heard your call for personal sacrifice in the face of political uncertainty, she too urged prayer and fasting, and then placed all her dependence on your provision. And so, O Lord, as we face times such as these, the ongoing war of atrocities in Ukraine, the tinderbox of terror that is Israel and Gaza, the divisive unrest in these very chambers, may we in prayer rend our hearts and not our country. May we fast, abstaining from all that detracts us from our reliance on you. Then may we return to you, O Lord, appealing to you for your guidance and protection. For you are gracious and compassionate, slow to anger and abounding in steadfast love. Speak the word you would have us hear. In your sovereign name we pray. Amen.
Amen. The chair has examined the journal of the last day's proceedings and announces to the House the approval thereof. Pursuant to Clause 1 of Rule 1, the journal stands approved. The Pledge of Allegiance will be led by the gentleman from Illinois, Mr. Bost.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
For what purpose does the gentleman from Louisiana seek recognition?
Mr. Speaker, pursuant to Clause 7 of Rule 20, I move a call of the House.
Under Clause 7B of Rule 20, the chair confers recognition for that purpose. Without objection, a call of the House is ordered. Members will record their presence by electronic device.
So that is the call of the House that has just been requested. In other words, they are making sure they can establish a quorum, which they will be able to. This is not the vote. Let me be very clear. This is not the vote for Speaker of the House. This is where all of the members vote whether or not they are present or not. So that's what you're seeing take place right now. We'll see how many members are there. If there are members who are absent, that could ultimately affect the vote count potentially. So that'll take place over the course of the next 15 minutes. You know, yesterday's speaker's vote, of course, was indeed humiliating for MAGA Republican Jim Jordan, but he certainly deserved it, right? He is someone seeking one of the highest positions in all of the United States of America, but he is someone who has covered up sexual abuse. He is someone who has supported insurrection. He's someone who has never passed any piece of legislation. He's never sponsored any piece of legislation that's become a law. Think about that. For his entire career, he's never done anything to turn a bill into a law. And in addition to his horrific background and conduct. And, you know, yesterday was off to a bad day for Jim Jordan and the MAGA Republicans when Elise Stefanik gave the nominating speech for Jim Jordan. In the nominating speech, she emphasized Jim Jordan being a wrestling coach and a leader and a mentor as one of the reasons why he should become Speaker of the House. Of course, while he was a wrestling coach, he covered up sexual abuse, massive amounts of sexual abuse that he covered up while at The Ohio State University. And that's what she was citing for his qualifications to become Speaker of the House. Let me play for you that moment, and we'll see then who the nominating speech, who's going to be giving the nominating speech today. But here's Elise Stefanik from yesterday. Play the clip.
Jim is the voice of the American people who have felt voiceless for far too long. Whether as Judiciary Chair, conservative leader, or representative for his constituents in West Central Ohio, whether on the wrestling mat or in the committee room, Jim Jordan is strategic, scrappy, tough, and principled. He is a mentor, a worker, and above all, he is a fighter. And the American people know, we know, that Jim Jordan is a winner on behalf of the American people.
Scrappy on the gym floor. We'll hear in just a moment from one of the people who were on the wrestling team and who knew Jim Jordan. But first, let me play for you this clip right here of my interview with Congressmember Jared Moskowitz yesterday, where he reflected on the legislative accomplishments of MAGA Republican Jim Jordan. Play the clip.
As I've said, which is, for the 16 years that Jim Jordan has been in Congress, okay, I would like to go over right now all of his legislative accomplishments. I want to list them one by one. I'm going to start right now. I'm finished.
There you have it right there. Congressmember Jared Moskowitz just saying it how it is right there. As we watch the vote come in to establish the quorum, 11 minutes left. And from all of the data we're gathering right now, once the vote takes place, yet another round for Speaker of the House, we do not expect at all that Jim Jordan's going to secure the votes. One of the things we will be looking for together is whether or not he indeed loses more support than the 20 Republicans who voted against him yesterday. Let's just pull up right now the list of the 20 who voted against him right there so you can see. So I want you all to pay attention to this list, because obviously when they take the roll call, they go in alphabetical order. And that's why this list is in alphabetical order as well. So these are the names that I'm going, if you want to take a screenshot of this with your phone right now or with whatever device you can, let's go back, Salty, to the first 10. So let's follow along at home, right? So if you have, this is what I want you to do. If you have a phone, or if you just want to do it the You could do it the old-fashioned way too, with a pen and paper. But take a look at these names, write them down, because it's like Jim Jordan humiliating bingo. We could play together, basically, right? We'll go down the list, and I'm going to be looking. Are there any other A's who are going to be voting against Jim Jordan? And then I'm going to be focused on the B's. Bacon's going to be coming up right away because it's BA. And so is Bacon going to vote for McCarthy again or somebody else? If he changes to Jim Jordan, that may be an indication that, whoa, is something happening here? One of the things we reported here on the MeidasTouch Network, there's a hot take that's been loaded live right now about it, is that MAGA Republicans have been threatening the wives and significant others and spouses of Republicans who were voting against Jim Jordan. And so Don Bacon, for example, his wife received very threatening text messages, and from what we've heard, that's only made people like Congressmember Bacon and others more firmly against Jim Jordan. Who would have thought that if you threaten the wives or spouses of members of Congress, that would not make them happy with you? I think only in the world of kind of Donald Trump cosplay, Marjorie Taylor Greene fascism is that something that they think is appropriate behavior. In the real world, people are like, what do you do? You're threatening my wife, huh? And so that's what was going on yesterday. Let's pull up that list one more time right there so everybody can make sure you write it down. Those are the first 10. And by the way, if Jim Jordan loses just 4 of those people, he's out. He loses again, and we expect that to take place by the time we get to Elsie. So we will keep you posted there. And then you see the next group of 10, and then will we be adding to this list? So as you follow along at home, you can take a screenshot of that as well, or write down those names, and when they go in alphabetical order, we will see if any of these people start supporting Jim Jordan, the Republicans have voted against him, or if more people are added to this list. We expect more people to be added to this list. I want to show you right now an individual from the Ohio State wrestling team who has firsthand experience with Jim Jordan. And he was asked on CNN, what do you think about all of these Republicans who say that Jim Jordan's a leader and he's tenacious and he's a fighter for the wrestling team? And here is what someone who knew Jim Jordan very intimately before Jim Jordan became a member of Congress had to say about Jim Jordan. Play the clip.
Thank you for joining us, Will. At first, I want to just get your reaction to what we just played from Congresswoman Stefanik. His past wrestling coach credentials being cited in a nominating speech on the House floor.
Well, thanks for having me, Abby. The funny thing is that when people always call Jim Jordan a fighter, and I always wonder who he's fighting for, because he had a real opportunity to fight for us and the people that he coached and the people that he recruited at the Ohio State, and all he's done is just turned his back on us. So I don't know what the fighter thing is. I know he used to be a fighter. I know he used to be a good wrestler, but he's not a good fighter for anyone else that I know of.
William Knight right there. When I watch William Knight, why can't that man become Speaker of the House? Why can't he be a member of Congress? Why'd you send us Jim Jordan when you have obviously such a brilliant person like that? But here's the thing too. I think most Americans, and in the chat, you could correct me if I'm wrong, that's the type of person we respect. Someone like William Knight, who speaks the truth, who speaks honestly. There's no theatrics or yelling or hands. It's just, here's what happened. Here are the facts. Here's the evidence. The incentive structure in the media, in politics, in our culture, is to elevate people like Jim Jordan and Matt Gaetz, and certainly in the Republican Party. I don't want to say that about the Democrat Party, but it's to elevate these kind of right-wing performance artist, cosplay, fascist, mafia wannabe clowns led at the top by Donald Trump. And I'm very confident that most Americans just want the normalcy and compassion. We built the whole MeidasTouch network on no theatrics. Just give me the facts. Give me you could be theatrical a little bit. Just sometimes you could get passionate, like we all should. But there's a difference between the passion and whatever the heck's going on the other side. I want to show you another interview with Ken Buck, Republican from the Freedom Caucus. And here Ken Buck is talking with Jake Tapper. Ken Buck voted against Jim Jordan. We certainly expect him to be voting against Jim Jordan. He's made it very clear. He's voting against Jim Jordan, and he's confident that Jim Jordan will not get the necessary votes in this next round. Let me play for you this interview with Jake Tapper and Republican Ken Buck. Play the clip.
The narrative that is out there.
But do other Republicans feel the same way you do? They're just not willing to say it out loud?
Absolutely. I have talked to a number of people who've come up to me and almost whispered, "Thank you." And I know.
Whispered?
Yes. No, there is.
Why are they so? I don't understand. What are they afraid of?
Well, the Republicans who are going to vote against Jim Jordan on the second ballot, which will be more Republicans. More. Absolutely. Want the cover of saying, I voted for Jim Jordan, but now it's time to move on. The problem is they are afraid of a primary. The calls that are coming in are ridiculous. They're in the hundreds, if not thousands, that are coming into every office right now. The grassroots campaign is very strong for Jim Jordan.
It's Ken Buck right there. And, you know, when I find myself watching Ken Buck interviews and saying to myself, that sounds pretty reasonable to me. I mean, Ken Buck's in the Freedom Caucus. Ken Buck is right wing of right wing, but he does draw the line. And how crazy that this is where it's become, where he draws the line is he goes, I may be right wing, but right wing doesn't mean we deny elections. That's Ken Buck's view of it, which is different than other members of the Freedom Caucus and certainly most of the other members of Congress. He said, I'm not going to support Jim Jordan if Jim Jordan can't say President Biden won the 2020 election. As long as Jim Jordan continues to deny the results of the 2020 election and wants to defund the FBI and the DOJ and the special counsel's office, I can't support Jim Jordan. And the reality is that I respect that with Ken Buck. I can certainly vehemently disagree with Ken Buck on everything else, but where it fundamentally comes to free and fair elections, obvious election results, and election denialism, I mean, it is humiliating for our country when you have people like Jim Jordan, Matt Gaetz, Marjorie Taylor Greene, I can name you all of them, sending congressional delegations to sing songs with the insurrectionists and then release like musical tracks on Apple Music with the insurrectionists. And then they play that with the national anthem, the January 6th choir, after supporting an insurrection to overthrow our democracy. Are you kidding me? The time remaining, we got 1 minute and 30 seconds left in this quorum call. Let me just show you this last clip. This is Kevin McCarthy blaming Democrats for the chaos in the Republican Party. Sure, Kevin, play the clip.
McCarthy. Let's listen to Kevin McCarthy here.
Now we have rules. We don't have to be stuck on the floor. The interesting part is why we're here, every single Democrat voted to stop one branch of government. They created this mess with 8 Republicans. Every single Democrat did that. And so I think what we'll do is we'll go sit down. We'll talk to those that have difference of opinion and come back.
Did the margin surprise you?
Thank you. You feel bad for Mr. Do you feel bad right now for Mr. Jordan? You threw your support for him. Do you feel bad for him?
No. Don't over read into this. This is about the same vote I had on my first vote out. We're in the no. Let's go back to how it got here. We wouldn't be here if every single Democrat didn't vote with 8 Republicans to shut this place down. That's it. No,
Republicans voted against Jim Jordan today on the floor, including 2 votes from somebody who's not even a member anymore.
Every single Democrat and 8 Republicans voted to shut down one branch of government. That is why we're here today. There's no other reason why we're here today but because of that. And so now we had a vote on the floor. It didn't get to the whole point. Now we'll take a break, talk to people, and come back and solve it.
So how long? Is this going to be today?
There we have Kevin McCarthy speaking, and with the quorum call of the House concluded, now we wait for what we will see are the nominating speeches. There will be a nominating speech for MAGA Republican Jim Jordan. Elise Stefanik gave the nominating speech yesterday where she invoked Jim Jordan's history as being a wrestling coach, where he covered up sexual abuse as his qualifications for becoming Speaker of the House. And then yesterday on the Democratic side, you had a rousing speech by Pete Aguilar, Democratic Congress member, of course, nominating Hakeem Jeffries. And Hakeem Jeffries actually received more votes yesterday than Jim Jordan received. One of the things I'm going to be looking for early on is, on the Republican side, will there be others giving any nominating speeches for anybody other than Jim Jordan? Yesterday, there wasn't. And then the group of 20 Republicans voted for other people anyway. They just didn't give a nominating speech against Jim Jordan. So one of the ways that I want to see if today's different than yesterday is, will there be any Republicans giving a nominating speech for somebody other than Jim Jordan? We don't expect that to happen, but I'm going to be waiting for that. So then you'll have nominating speech for Jim Jordan. As they start praising Jim Jordan, I'll probably cut it off for a little bit. Then we'll show you the nominating speech for Hakeem Jeffries. And then the vote will take place. They'll go right in alphabetical order. We'll follow along. I hope you all took down the list of all of those names. If you didn't, if you're just joining, let's just flash them quickly. Salty, of the 20 people who voted against Jim Jordan yesterday, take a quick screenshot of this, because when they go in alphabetical, this is what I'm going to be looking at. See if any of them switch their votes. That's 1 through 10. So the first no vote against Jim Jordan was Bacon. We'll see if that happens again. Go to the next 10 right there. And then it will go to, that's 1 through 10. If we can go to the next one, Salty, with 11 through 20, ending at Sparts. So we will see there. Take a screenshot of that. That's what I'm going to be looking at as well. Let's go back to the House floor right now, where they are within moments going to call for nominating speeches, and then we begin the process that we were at yesterday, and we will keep you posted on all of the developments. Whenever there is a surprise vote, if a vote goes one way that we don't expect it to go, we will let you know. Oftentimes you will hear noises going on the House floor, and you'll be wondering, well, what just happened? And we'll try to fill you in as soon as we learn, what went down, and was it somebody switching their vote, or anything like that. So, by all accounts, based on the data available right now, it doesn't appear that Jim Jordan's gonna get enough support to become Speaker of the House on this vote. I will say this, although Republicans, as we know, are not the arbiters of the truth. Tom Emmer, the I guess the whip designee right now, claims that Jim Jordan will eventually get enough votes to become Speaker today. I throw that out there simply because Tom Emmer is the one responsible for whipping the votes. But I also say that with not a great deal of confidence, because he also whips lies very casually and all of the time. So we'll keep you posted there. But now we are just getting ready. Now we are just getting ready for the nominating speeches. Let me show you again, though. I mean, this was Ken Buck and Dana Bash, where he makes it very clear that he ain't switching. And the data that I have suggests that this is most of the 20 who voted no yesterday. So let me play this clip of Dana Bash and Ken Buck from yesterday. Let's play this clip.
Company excluded. What does he have to do? Talk about the challenges and the desires and the pressure points that he's under. I know for you in particular, it's multiple issues, right? It's spending, it's about Ukraine, it's also about election denialism.
Absolutely. Yeah, I had a nice 30, 40-minute conversation with Jim last night. It is not personal. I have a lot of respect for Jim, and we both have sort of risen in the conservative movement and share many of the values of the conservative movement. I think that what Jim Jordan needs to do is to stop talking about defunding the Department of Justice. We pride ourselves on being a party of the rule of law. You can't defund the Department of Justice or defund a special counsel's office in the Department of Justice and talk about the value that we share. So there are a number of different issues related to the election and some not related to the election.
You are a hard no? I mean, is there anything that he can do, anything that he can promise, any change that he can make to get your vote?
I will not vote for Jim Jordan.
No way. Yeah, no way. Okay.
And here is Congress member Diaz-Balart, who also voted against Jim Jordan. Here's what he had to say about how he thinks the vote's going to be going today. Play this clip.
We are where we are. The second thing that I think is pretty clear is that this candidate does not and will not be able to get the Republican votes to become Speaker. So then now I think all of us have to get together and figure out what's the next step.
Can I just clarify? So do you...
And there's a real potent kind of combination, though, of those Republicans saying that they're never going to support Jim Jordan, and Jim Jordan is a sociopathic maniac who will continue to force votes, believing that he's going to be able to wear people down. He's a malignant narcissist, sociopath. Here's what Jim Jordan had to say earlier today, and he says that he's not backing out. He's just going to keep on going. It's unclear how many rounds he's going to keep going, but this is Jim Jordan from just a little bit ago. Play this clip.
Decide today we're going to have a Republican speaker, or is the body going to adopt this resolution with the Speaker pro tem? And I think both questions should be called. Let's get an answer. We've been at this 2 weeks. The American people deserve to have their government functioning. Let's get an answer to those two questions. So at 11 o'clock, there'll be a vote for Speaker. I got 90% of the vote yesterday. Got a huge cross-section of our conference from the conservatives to people in the middle to more liberal members of it. And so I think that's the best route. But you know what? People are talking about this resolution. I told leadership, call the question.
Is there any way you would drop out? Is there any way you would drop out?
What do you think about this? Do you think Republicans could vote?
So this other potential resolution that's being discussed is this idea to temporarily empower Congressmember Patrick McHenry, the Speaker pro temp, and make him the give him the official duties of the Speaker of the House. Here's Robert Costa per Punchbowl News. Several House GOP insiders say they expect someone will drop a resolution to give Speaker pro tem Patrick McHenry more power in the next day. This would be a privileged resolution and would be afforded quick consideration on the floor. That's something that I expect to happen. Here's Jake Sherman saying, new, how House Dems think about empowering Speaker pro tem. The general sense from the House Democratic leadership is that they are for empowering a Speaker pro tem, in this case, Patrick McHenry. The thinking is this from Dems. Stopping a Speaker Jordan is a big win for Democrats. It's also a win to open the House again and get appropriations security supplemental done and potentially work on rules change to tweak the motion to vacate, that's MTV, etc. not the music television network that I grew up with. If Republicans shut down the government, that's on them, but it's important to get the House open. And so if you could put together a package with Patrick McHenry as a speaker pro tem, look, I would prefer Hakeem Jeffries to become speaker. That's not, I don't believe that's ever going to happen as long as Republicans control the majority in the House of Representatives. But if you could get a speaker pro tem, if you could fully fund the government through 2024, if you can provide the necessary appropriations for Ukraine and Israel and our allies, and America could be funded, and we don't have any of these, like as much as I enjoy covering these committee hearings where we get to call out these MAGA Republicans and we get to see the Democrats cross-examining these witnesses. In an ideal world, I don't have to cover those committee hearings because the insanity and the dangerous nature of that is not something that is the focus of Congress, and they're focused on doing the work of the American people. So if you remove those committee hearings, I understand why that's something that Democrats could live with right now. But nonetheless, there's going to be a vote shortly for Jim Jordan, and we will see if he gets the necessary votes or if he loses the additional support from the 20 no votes against him. And we've been showing you all of the data that would seem to reflect that he does. If he loses 4, there's really no shot. I don't want to say never. People could change votes, and stranger things have happened. Are certain people going to vote present? So I don't want to, when we see 4 against him, I don't want to say he's done right away. I want to see what it shapes up. But I don't think he's been able to win over significantly more support over the past 24 hours. From all I'm hearing, it's been the opposite. Him threatening the wives of members of Congress, Republicans, has backfired, has only made them more resolute in their opposition to Jim Jordan. It's only showed how extreme he is. And so ultimately where I think today heads, and we could go back to this in a few hours when we get there, I think we will see Patrick McHenry in a privileged resolution be afforded temporary status as a Speaker of the House. It's my prediction of what will happen today. And there will be some deal that I think Democrats can live with. And ultimately, I think if we could fund the government, and I mean, just think about that's like where we're at right now. If we could fund our government and make sure we have funding for national security, I think that is something that will be important. You know, what will be interesting then to see when that happens, though, because the moment there is a deal, even if it's one of just funding our allies, which should not be controversial, then you're going to have all of the kind of fringe right wing, the Matt Gaetzes and I think the Jim Jordans and the Marjorie Taylor Greens, the Lauren Boeberts, the Anna Paulina Lunas, the Paul Gosars, and that whole crew. Then they're going to start attacking, I think, the Patrick McHenrys, and they're going to start attacking, to the extent there exists more moderate Republican members. One thing to note as well, when we look through the names of all of the people who voted against Jim Jordan, a lot of people there from swing districts, a lot of them from people in districts that previously or that had voted for President Biden in 2020 and that they just barely won in 2022. So a lot of vulnerable Republican seats, realizing that if they vote for Jim Jordan, that's going to be used in a campaign ad against them. And what's interesting too, as this has all played out, is that it doesn't seem like Jim Jordan's going to have the necessary votes to become speaker, although, anything can change in the next, 30 minutes, an hour. But a lot of Republicans now have already been forced to support Jim Jordan. So when you go to 2024, Democrats are certainly going to be using the fact that Jim Jordan covered up sexual abuse, led an insurrection, and that fill in the blank name of Congress supports Jim Jordan and supports someone who engages in insurrection and covers up sexual abuse. We talked about Patrick McHenry. You see Patrick McHenry there. He is standing in front of the American flag. As noted, he is the Speaker pro temp right now. He doesn't have the powers of the Speaker of the House. We expect, though, that the way things may end up today, there may be what's called a privileged resolution to give him additional powers to open up the House of Representatives. That's ultimately where I expect this to go. But the question is there going to be multiple rounds of Jim Jordan putting his name forward as a candidate for Speaker of the House? We will see. I want to show you this moment yesterday, though, where it was made official that Jim Jordan not only did not become Speaker of the House, he actually received 12 less votes for Speaker than the Democratic leader, Hakeem Jeffries. Let's play this clip.
The tellers agree in their tallies that the total number of votes cast is 432, of which the Honorable Jim Jordan of the state of Ohio has received 200 votes. The Honorable Hakeem Jeffries of the state of New York has received 212 votes. The Honorable Kevin.
Yeah, and with that situation, where do you think Kevin McCarthy laid the blame on? No, Kevin McCarthy, as soon as that happened, went out and this is what's so problematic with just the state of American politics right now because of Republicans. It's not a both sides issue. Yeah, Democrats saying, let's make a deal. Let's work on something. Let's figure out how we address issues for the American people. The entire incentive structure for the Republican Party is blame the Democrats, own the libs, mock the Democrats. Whoever can do that most outrageously, who's ever the meanest, you have the best opportunity of getting on Fox. You have the best opportunity of speaking with Hannity. You have the best opportunity of getting retweeted by a right-wing influencer. And they live on Twitter or X or whatever it is, and they think that that's governing. They think that that's the reality. They think that's the world, and that's not the world that Americans live in. We care about healthcare. We care about lowering prescription drug prices, right? I mean, we care about jobs and working conditions. We care about our kids. We care about our families. We care about students, seniors, protecting Social Security and Medicare. You know, these are things that should be the focus of politicians, and it's Republicans are like, I own the libs. I blame the Dems bigger today than the other person. It's like, grow up. Seriously, grow up. Here is Kevin McCarthy yesterday after MAGA Republican Jim Jordan did not win the Speaker vote, blaming the Democrats for all of this. Play this clip of Kevin McCarthy.
McCarthy. Let's listen to Kevin McCarthy here.
Now we have rules. We don't have to be stuck on the floor. The interesting part is why we're here. Every single Democrat voted to stop one branch of government. They created this mess with 8 Republicans. Every single Democrat did that. And so I think what we'll do is we'll go sit down. We'll talk to those that have difference of opinion and come back.
Did the margin surprise you?
Thank you. Do you feel bad for Mr. Do you feel bad right now for Mr. Jordan? You threw your support for him. Do you feel bad for him?
No. Don't over read into this. This is about the same vote I had on my first vote out. We're in the no. Let's go back to how it got here. We wouldn't be here if every single Democrat didn't vote with 8 Republicans to shut this place down. That's it. No,
Republicans voted against Jim Jordan today on the floor, including 2 votes from somebody who's not even a member anymore.
Every single Democrat and 8 Republicans voted to shut down one branch of government. That is why we're here today. There's no other reason why we're here today but because of that. Now we had a vote on the floor. It didn't get to the whole point. Now we'll take a break, talk to people, and come back and solve it.
So how long? Is this going to be today?
Compare Kevin McCarthy there, his behavior, how he acts. Compare that to William Knight. William Knight was on the wrestling team where Jim Jordan was a coach and where Jim Jordan covered up the massive amounts of horrific sexual abuse taking place. I want to show you this clip of Will Knight because Republicans keep on citing Jim Jordan's history as being a wrestling coach as the reason demonstrates his leadership skills. But here's Will Knight, who was on the wrestling team. But when you watch this, though, you see that Kevin McCarthy seething with anger and blaming and pointing fingers, right? And now I just want you to watch William Knight, who, honestly, when I watch this, I'm like, let's make Will Knight. Let's make Will Knight the Speaker of the House. Play this clip.
Thank you for joining us, Will. At first, I want to just get your reaction to what we just played from Congresswoman Stefanik. His past wrestling coach credentials being cited in a nominating speech on the House floor.
Well, thanks for having me, Abby. The funny thing is that when people always call Jim Jordan a fighter, and I always wonder who he's fighting for, because he had a real opportunity to fight for us and the people that he coached and the people that he recruited at the Ohio State, and all he's done is just turned his back on us. So I don't know what the fighter thing is. I know he used to be a fighter. I know he used to be a good wrestler, but he's not a good fighter for anyone else that I know of.
There's a lot taking place right now before this vote is being called. Here's what Jake Sherman from Punchbowl News, who's there right now, is reporting. He says that Jim Jordan is now huddling with New York Republican members Lawler, Garbarino, LaLota, etc. Remember before when I was saying that a lot of the New York members and swing district members were the ones who voted against Jim Jordan. So Jim Jordan is obviously trying to flip Lawler, Garbarino, and LaLola. We also are aware that Congressmember Mike Kelly approached Congressmember Patrick McHenry. This is coming from reports by Jake Sherman as well, that Kelly has a resolution to empower McHenry, who is the Speaker pro temp, for a short period of time. As Jake Sherman also says, some interesting things going on the House floor. Jordan was just talking to GOP leadership floor staff. Now he's just walked to the Speaker's chair to talk to McHenry, and then Mike Kelly approached McHenry. So one of the things that is not clear if it's going on now, we've talked about a potential for introducing a privileged resolution to make Patrick McHenry a temporary Speaker of the House, giving Patrick McHenry the powers of the Speaker of the House for limited periods of time, and what that would ultimately look like, just to open back up the House of Representatives so that there is some Speaker and appropriations can be dealt with and the business of the House of Representatives could start taking place. So it's unclear what's arising from this meeting between Jim Jordan, Lawler, Garbarino, LaLota, and others from the New York contingency. If Jim Jordan somehow going to make them flip their votes and all of a sudden support Jim Jordan. But as we are about to gavel in for the actual Speaker vote, the thing that we are going to be looking for here at the MeidasTouch Network, what I want you to follow along with wherever you are watching this, are these 20 names. Let's put up the list again for those just joining. You can take a screenshot of this with your phone, take a photo of it. These are the 20 no votes from yesterday against Jim Jordan, right? So you've got Bacon, Chavez, D'Esposito, Zeldin, Diaz, Ballard. And so what was notable, for example, when I said that Jim Jordan was speaking with Lawler, Garbarino, and LaLota, is you see, for example, Garbarino was one of the no votes who voted for Zeldin. Let's go to the next list of 10. And there you see LaLota, and there you see Lawler, right? So Jim Jordan's clearly trying to flip these votes in his favor. And I think what they're also trying to figure out is, assuming Jim Jordan doesn't have the votes, will the Republicans then try to quickly introduce this privileged resolution, which just means it gets addressed on an expedited basis to empower Patrick McHenry, who's the one standing right before the American flag, who's serving as the Speaker pro tem? Do you make Patrick McHenry a temporary Speaker of the House? Do you give him limited powers right now? And for all intents and purposes, he kind of functions like a Speaker of the House. So I think that's everything that's going on right now. I have no other data to suggest. There we go. Let's
Are all
watch.
members recorded? Clerk will report. On this roll call, 432 members have recorded their presence. The question now recurs on the election of a speaker. The tellers will please come forward to take their seats. If the tellers will please come forward and take their seats. Tellers. The gentleman, Mr. Stiles. The gentleman, Mr. Loudermilk. The gentlelady from Alabama. Ms. Sewell, prompt. Thanks. All right. The nominations are now in order. The chair recognizes the gentleman from Oklahoma, Mr. Cole.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, I rise for the purpose of placing in nomination the name of the Honorable Jim Jordan for the position of Speaker of the House at the direction of the Republican Congress.
Gentleman's recognized.
Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, 2 weeks and 1 day ago, I was on this House floor and in this chamber defending my very good friend and our former Speaker, Mr. McCarthy, from an effort to vacate the chair. And in the course of that speech, I made the remark that those who did this, whether intentionally or unintentionally, we're going to put the Congress in a state of chaos and the country into a state of uncertainty. I think the last 2 weeks have vindicated that observation. But we have a chance today to end that chaos and to end that uncertainty. Now, when these races happen, there's always a lot of hard things said on both sides of the aisle. There's a lot of finger pointing that goes on. I don't intend to be involved in any of that today. I think the decision in front of us is far, far too important for that. But I am very proud to place in nomination the name of our good friend, my good friend, our Republican candidate for Speaker, the Honorable Jim Jordan of Ohio. Of knowing Jim Jordan for a long time. I've been in Congress for a long time. So for his entire period in the House, I've had the honor of serving with my friend. Now, my friend is not exactly a shrinking violet. You don't win national championships in college. You don't come to this floor with a sincere set of beliefs and a desire to make a change and be shy about it. And my friend is not a shy person. But I've learned some things about him over the years. He is a person of absolute personal integrity. I've never once had to question something that he told me. He's an honorable man. Also, I think we all know he's a pretty direct man, too. I don't think anybody in here on any issue of any substance would have to guess where Jim Jordan is going to stand. He doesn't deceive. He doesn't dissemble. He simply tells you straight up, this is what I believe. This is why I think it's the right thing to do for the country, and that's what I'm going to try and accomplish, and I'm going to work with you in any way that I can to do it. Now, the other thing I think we've found in the last couple of weeks is what it takes to be a speaker. And the one thing I know, never having been one and never having aspired to be one, that it takes a spine of steel to do this job. My friend has that kind of determination, has that kind of character, has that kind of spine. And I think the next speaker is going to need that quality, and I know my friend has it in great abundance. Now, if you're a Republican, it ought to be a pretty easy decision, my friends. You know, this is somebody who believes what we believe and has fought for and shown that over and over again. You know, I first got to know him, a lot of his focus was on spending. That's exactly where the focus of this House ought to be. Now, he's laid out a plan, not just a short-term plan, as to how we deal with the appropriations process. I'm an appropriator. I think I know that that's not the root of the problem. But unlike any other speaker we've had, he's had the courage to talk about a long-term plan and to get at the real drivers of debt. And we all know what they are. We all know it's Social Security. We all know it's Medicare. We all know it's Medicaid. No president of either side has been willing to deal with this. No speaker of either side has been willing to deal with this. My friend, our former colleague, John Delaney, and I offered a plan. I still file it every year. John's not here anymore. To go back and do in 1983 what we did then and address Social Security. We never can get any help. This is the guy that wants to create a debt commission, a bipartisan debt commission, and get at the roots of our spending problem. That takes courage. And Republicans ought to support somebody with that kind of courage. Now, he's not only focused on one thing. I don't know anybody that's done more to highlight and talk about the border disaster that is underway right now as we speak. You know, I had the privilege of serving here when Jay Johnson was Secretary of Homeland Security. I have a very high opinion of Jay Johnson. I think he's one of the finest public servants I ever met. And he was asked on one occasion to define what was a crisis on the southern border. And he said, anytime you have more than 1,000 illegal entries a day, you have a crisis. We have 10 or 11 times that every single day. And in that tide of humanity that's coming across, there is a boatload of fentanyl coming to kill tens of thousands of all of our constituents. There are human traffickers who are taking advantage of young men and young women, and frankly, predators in our own country, and they're bringing them across, not by the tens or the 20s or the dozens, but by the hundreds and the thousands. You know, there are amongst that flow of people, people that wish us ill, people who are not fleeing from oppression, people who are terrorists or criminals that are coming into our country for no good reason. Now, that is not an immigration problem. That's a border security problem. They are not the same thing. We can debate immigration. That's a worthy debate. We should never have to debate border security. Nobody's highlighted that issue like my friend, Jim Jordan. Nobody's done more as a committee chairman to move legislation that would meaningfully deal with this problem. And this, my friends, on both sides of the aisle, but with all due respect, particularly this administration and my friends on the other side, you need to look at this. You need to look at this seriously. Don't confuse it with immigration. You ain't going to have immigration reform until we have border security. Cannot be done. This has been the #1 champion of that. It's one of the #1 issues that we have. Finally, I want to talk about something that can bring us together. There are a lot of things we disagree on, legitimately so. Most of us do not disagree about the security of the state of Israel. All of us. All of us on both sides of the aisle reacted with horror and with deep sympathy and with legitimate outrage at the crime that was perpetrated against the people of Israel in the last week. All of us, and all of us know that they are within their rights to respond forcefully and swiftly to defend their people and punish those who brought that upon them. So at a moment of crisis, and we are in a moment of crisis, we should come together and act. And we know we can't do that without a Speaker of the House. Now, it's a narrow majority, but my friends and I are in the majority. And we need to produce a Speaker. We have a candidate who we know where he will stand on issues that are important. We know where he's going to stand on spending because it's where he's always stood. Not like he's changed over the course of his career. I know what he's going to do on the border. I've read HR 2. I've seen what his committee produced. And it's not just money, it's policy and change that will provide security for the American people. And finally, and I say this on a bipartisan basis, I know he will stand up for Israel, and I know in that area we can come together. That crisis is on us now. We may get a request almost any time to act. We need to be able to act. My friend will act on that crisis. He's shown it his whole career. So it's with a great deal of pride that I have the privilege of nominating my friend, our chairman of the Judiciary Committee, but a person whose principles you know, whose actions you can trust, and who in a time of crisis will respond with the leadership we need. Jim Jordan.
The chair now recognizes the gentleman from California, Mr. Aguilar.
Mr. Speaker Pro Tem, I rise today at the direction of the House Democratic Caucus to place into nomination for the position of Speaker of the House of Representatives, the Honorable Hakeem Jeffries of New York. Here we are again, Mr. Speaker. And I promise to make these speeches shorter if we get closer to a compromise, but I'm not certain that that's going to happen at this moment. While the Republican candidate for Speaker is making late-night backroom deals to secure the gavel, Leader Jeffries has once again extended the hand of bipartisanship for a path forward. One thing was very clear yesterday: the vote total, 220, 212 to 200. The People's House has spoken, and Leader Jeffries has the support to be Speaker that this country needs. Mr. Speaker, $212 to $200. No amount of election denying is going to take away from those vote totals. We shouldn't, Mr. Speaker Pro Tem, we shouldn't be surprised at the vote count. I noted yesterday the legislative acumen of the gentleman from Ohio. Would it surprise anyone that in addition to not passing a single piece of legislation, he's never put a piece of legislation that has made it to a committee? The Speaker of the House must be a legislator, and the gentleman from Ohio falls short in that regard. He supports an extreme agenda and is hell-bent on banning abortion nationwide, gutting Medicare, gutting Social Security, and giving cover to January 6th attackers. Those aren't the values that we share. If we don't see a speaker elected in this round, there's going to be another candidate and another internal Republican conference vote and a secret ballot, and the country can't afford more delays and more chaos. 15 days should be enough. House Democrats are united on this path forward. We're united behind Hakeem Jeffries, united to put people over politics, and united to lower costs, create better paying jobs, build safer communities, and defend democracy. And once again, we're coming together to achieve this common goal, and that is to make Hakeem Jeffries Speaker of the House of Representatives. Almost, Mr. Speaker Pro Tem. Hakeem Jeffries has done what we haven't seen from the other side of the aisle, and that is to keep a caucus united. When extreme MAGA Republicans vowed to send our country into a devastating default, it was Leader Jeffries who led House Democrats to reject the extremism and keep the government open. Mr. Speaker Pro Tem, we have the vote totals to back that up. It has been Leader Jeffries and House Democrats who have shown a willingness and a conviction to keep our promise to deliver for American families. And it will be Hakeem Jeffries who will move our body and our country forward on a bipartisan path. Who on the other side of the aisle, Mr. Speaker Pro Tem, will take yes for an answer and work with us to achieve three common goals. And my colleague and good friend, the gentleman from Oklahoma, mentioned one of them. Supporting assistance to Israel, but what he left out was assistance to Ukraine and our national security objectives. Second, above all else, we must commit to keep this government open and functioning. And finally, Mr. Speaker Pro Tem, we need to put this body on a bipartisan path to achieve real results for the American public. That is what we were sent to do. That is what we need to do. That is why Hakeem Jeffries is the leader we need at this time to lead this chamber. I'd like to nominate Hakeem Jeffries as Speaker of the House. I yield back.
No further nominations. The reading clerk will now call the roll.
Adams. Jeffries. Adderholt. Jordan.
So now we've got the roll
Aguilar.
call for Speaker of the House.
Jeffries.
Let's put up, Salty,
Alford.
the list of the 20
Jordan.
no votes so everybody can. This is what I'm
Allen.
going to be looking at right now. These were the no votes yesterday, starting
Jordan.
with me. Bacon, let's see
Allred.
if Bacon stays as a no vote and votes
Jeffries.
McCarthy or somebody else again.
Amaday.
I'm going to be following this list. We'll keep you posted if there's any
Jordan.
surprises, but for now, let's listen
Armstrong.
to the votes.
Jordan. Arrington. Jordan. Auchincloss. Jeffries. Babin. Jordan. Bacon. McCarthy.
You have Bacon again, voting with McCarthy. Salty, pull back up our list. Bacon, McCarthy. Next, I'm going to see if there's anybody else between Bacon and Chavez, DeReamer. But Bacon's
Baird.
McCarthy. That's one against
Jordan.
Jim Jordan.
Balderson. Jordan. Ballant. Jeffries. Banks. Jordan. Barr. Jordan. Barragan. Jeffries. Bean of Florida. Jordan. Beatty. Jeffries. Bentz. Jordan. Barra. Jeffries. Bergman. Jordan. Beyer. Jeffries. Bice. Jordan. Biggs. Jordan. Bilirakis. Jordan. Bishop of Georgia. Jeffries. Bishop of North Carolina. Jordan. Blumenauer. Jeffries. Blunt Rochester. Jeffries. Boebert. Jordan. Bonamici. Jeffries. Bost. Jordan. Bowman.
What we're going to be looking for
Jeffries.
next is for Buck. What we're going to
Boyle
do
of
is
Pennsylvania.
refresh the feed quickly to pull up
Jeffries.
the counter as well. But
Burkeen.
right now, the next key one we're going to be
Jordan.
looking at is Buck.
Brown.
We're going to see if Buck
Jeffries.
ends up voting against Jim Jordan as he previously did. We're going to look for Chavez DeReamer coming up, and then Buck, and then De Esposito. And we're just refreshing the feed super quickly to pull up the feed that's going to have the counter on it as well. But so far, what you've seen is Bacon.
Donalds.
There we go.
Buck. Emmer. Bouchon. Jordan.
And what you just saw happen there as well
Kaczynski.
is two things happened. You
Jeffries.
had Vern Buchanan,
Burchett.
previously voted for Jim Jordan, voted for Byron Donald.
Jordan.
That's what you heard, Byron Donald. And then
Burgess.
you had Buck also
Jordan.
vote against Jim Jordan. So now already
Burleson.
you have three. So if we go to our list,
Jordan.
pull up our list, Salty, we now
Bush.
add an additional person before
Jeffries.
Chavez DeReamer. We now add Vern
Calvert.
Buchanan to that list. So it seems that the
Jordan.
list is growing right now, but let's see what Chavez
Kamek.
DeReamer does.
Jordan. Caraveo. Jeffries. Carbajal. Jeffries. Cardenas. Jeffries. Carey. Jordan. Carl. Jordan. Carson. Jeffries. Carter of Georgia. Jordan. Carter of Louisiana. Jeffries. Carter of Texas. Jordan. Cartwright. Jeffries. Kassar. Jeffries. Case. Jeffries. Caston. Jeffries. Castor of Florida. Jeffries. Castro of Texas. Jeffries. Chavez DeRemer. McCarthy.
So as I said, we wanted to watch for Chavez DeRemer. Put up our list, Salty. As we going through the list, you had Bacon, McCarthy, Chavez DeRemer, McCarthy. We had someone,
Sherfless
a
McCormick.
new Republican Congress member, Vern
Jeffries.
Buchanan, who voted for Jordan,
Chu.
now voted for Byron Donalds,
Jeffries.
and Buck voted
Cisco-Moning.
against Jim Jordan. So we
Jordan.
now have an additional
Clark
no
of
vote against
Massachusetts.
Jim Jordan, where we were last time.
Jeffries.
So now if we pull up
Clark
the list,
of New York.
here's the next one we're going to be looking for, De
Jeffries.
Esposito.
Cleaver. Jeffries. Klein. Jordan. Cloud. Jordan. Clyburn. Jeffries. Clyde. Jordan. Cohen. Jeffries. Cole. Jordan. Collins. Jordan. Comer. Jordan. Connolly. Jeffries. Correa. Jeffries. Costa. Jeffries. Courtney. Jeffries. Craig. Jeffries. Crane. Jordan. Crawford. Jordan. Crenshaw. Jordan. Crockett. Jeffries. Crow. Jeffries. Cuellar. Jeffries. Curtis. Jordan. Davids of Kansas. Jeffries. Davidson. Jordan. Davis of Illinois. Jeffries. Davis of North Carolina.
I want you to get ready for
Jeffries.
De Esposito,
Dean
who
of
voted against
Pennsylvania.
Jim Jordan yesterday. Will De
Jeffries.
Esposito vote for
DeGette.
Zeldin again? Pay attention
Jeffries.
closely as De Esposito's name is.
Dela Cruz. Jordan. DeLauro. Jeffries. Del Bene. Jeffries. DeLuzio. Jeffries. DeSaulnier. Jeffries. Desjardins. Jordan. D'Esposito. Zeldin.
As predicted, De Esposito votes against Jim Jordan. Next, let's pay attention to Diaz. Diaz Balart previously voted for Scalise. We believe there's zero chance Balart is
Diaz
going
Balart.
to vote. See,
Scalise.
there we go again. The list is indicative of what's happening yesterday is happening again today, plus the addition of Republican Vern Buchanan.
Dingle.
Next up,
Jeffries.
we're going to look at LZ.
Doggett. Jeffries. Donalds. Jordan. Duarte, Jordan, Duncan, Jordan, Dunn of Florida, Jordan, Edwards, Jordan, LZ, Mike Garcia,
Another defection, same as yesterday. So where we were today versus where we are yesterday, we just have
Emmer,
one additional person
Jordan,
at this stage, with Vern
Escobar,
Buchanan voting against Jim Jordan.
Jeffries,
So to be
Eschu,
clear, Jim Jordan's not going to
Jeffries,
prevail on this round, but
Espaillat,
I don't want to get ahead of myself before making it official. But
Jeffries, Estes,
it's certainly all data clearly
Jordan,
suggests that Jim Jordan's not going to
Evans,
be able to secure it, but
Jeffries,
see what happens.
Azell, Jordan, Fallon, Jordan, Finstra, Jordan, Ferguson, Scalise, Finstad, Jordan,
You heard there, Ferguson went to
Fishbach,
Scalise. That is another
Jordan, Fitzgerald,
detractor right there. Ferguson previously
Jordan,
did not vote that way
Fitzpatrick,
yesterday. Ferguson gets added to the
Jordan,
list. So that adds Vern
Weissman,
Buchanan. That adds Ferguson to the list
Jordan,
of 20 opposition members yesterday. So now we're on track for
Fletcher,
22 no's today if it
Jeffries,
continues down this path.
Flood, Jordan, Foster, Jeffries, Fushi, Jeffries, Fox, Jordan, Lois Frankel, Jeffries, Scott Franklin, Jordan, Frost, Jeffries, Fry, Jordan, Fulcher,
Want y'all to get ready for
Jordan,
Garbarino.
Gates,
Garbarino was speaking
Jordan,
with Jordan before. Let's
Gallagher,
see if there was any change based on
Jordan,
speaking with Jordan.
Gallego, Jeffries, Garamendi,
Get ready for Garbarino.
Jeffries, Garbarino, Zeldin,
Garbarino once again votes against Jim Jordan, which tells me that the group of people that Garbarino was with when they were speaking to Jim
Mike
Jordan, that
Garcia,
also included
Jordan,
LaLota
Robert
and
Garcia,
Lawler, are also similarly going to
Jeffries,
vote. By the way, you heard Mike Garcia, very
Garcia of Illinois,
vulnerable. Mike Garcia, very vulnerable seat
Jeffries,
here in California,
Garcia of
has been
Texas,
forced to vote Jim Jordan. I'm confident that
Jeffries,
they are going to run a ton of ads on
Jimenez,
Garcia. But that Garbarino vote is
McCarthy,
important against Jordan because he was part of the group of Lawler, LaLota speaking to Jordan moments before the vote, and people were speculating, did Jim Jordan convince them
Golden
to
of
all
Maine,
change? But Garbarino just voted against him again.
Jeffries,
So
Goldman
right
of New
now the
York,
list is basically the same, plus
Jeffries,
Buchanan and Ferguson that are
Gomez,
added to the list as of right now.
Jeffries, Tony Gonzalez, Scalise, Vicente Gonzalez, Jeffries, Good of Virginia, Jordan, Gooden of Texas, Jordan, Gosar, Jordan, Gottheimer, Jeffries, Granger, Scalise, Graves of Louisiana. Jordan. Graves of Missouri. Jordan. Green of Tennessee. Jordan. Green of Texas. Jeffries. Green of Georgia. Jordan. Griffith. Jordan. Grijalva. Jeffries. Grothman. Grothman. Jordan. Guest. Jordan. Guthrie. Jordan. Hageman. Jordan. Harder of California. Jeffries. Harris. Jordan. Harshbarger. Jordan. Hayes. Jeffries. Hearn. Jordan. Higgins of Louisiana. Jordan. Higgins of New York. Jeffries. Hill. Jordan. Himes. Jeffries. Henson. Jordan. Horsford. Jeffries. Houchin. Jordan. Houlihan. Jeffries. Hoyer. Jeffries. Hoyle of Oregon. Jeffries. Hudson. Jordan. Huffman. Jeffries. Huizinga. Jordan. Hunt. Jordan. Issa. Jordan. Ivy. Jeffries. Jackson of Illinois. Jeffries. Jackson of North Carolina. Jeffries. Jackson of Texas. Jordan. Jackson Lee. Jeffries. Jacobs. Jeffries. James. Miller Meeks. Candace Miller of Michigan.
House to come to order. The clerk will continue.
Jayapal. Jeffries. 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 Johnson of Georgia. Jeffries. Johnson of Louisiana. Jordan. Johnson of Ohio. Jordan. Johnson of South Dakota. Jordan. 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 Joyce of Ohio. Jordan. Joyce of Pennsylvania. Jordan. Kemlager Dove. Jeffries. Captor. Jeffries. Kane of New Jersey. Jordan. Keating. Jeffries. Kelly of Illinois. Jeffries. Kelly of Mississippi. Jordan. Kelly of Pennsylvania. Boehner. Kana. Kana. Jeffries. Higgins of Virginia. McCarthy. Kildee. Jeffries. Kiley. Jordan. Kilmer. Jeffries. Kim of California. Jordan. Kim of New Jersey. Jeffries. Krishnamurthy. Jeffries. Custer. Jeffries. Kustoff. Jordan. LaHood. Jordan. LaLota. Zeldin. LaMalfa. Jordan. Lamborn. Lamborn. Jordan. Landsman. Jeffries. Langworthy. Jordan. Larson of Washington. Jeffries. Larson of Connecticut. Jeffries. Latta. Jordan. LaTurner. Jordan. Lawler.
Speaker Kevin McCarthy.
McCarthy. Lee of California. Jeffries. Lee of Florida. Jordan. Lee of Nevada. Jeffries. Lee of Pennsylvania. Jeffries. Ledger Fernandez. Jeffries. Lesko. Jordan. Letlow. Jordan. Levin. Jeffries. Liu. Jeffries. Lofgren. Jeffries. Loudermilk.
Jim Jordan.
Jordan. Lucas. Jordan. Luke Kameyer. Jordan. Luna. Jordan. Latrell. Jordan. Lynch. Jeffries. Mace. Jordan. Magaziner. Jeffries. Maliotakis. Jordan. Mann, Jordan. Manning, Jeffries. Massey, Jordan. Mast, Jordan. Matsui, Jeffries. McBath, Jeffries. McCarthy, Jordan. McCall, Jordan. McLean, Jordan. McClellan, Jeffries. McClintock, Jordan. McCollum, Jeffries. McCormick, Jordan. McGarvey, Jeffries. McGovern, Jeffries. McHenry, Jordan. Meeks, Jeffries. Menendez, Jeffries. Ming, Jeffries. Muser, Jordan. Mfume, Jeffries. Miller of Illinois, Jordan. Miller of Ohio, Jordan. Miller of West Virginia, Jordan. Miller Meeks, Granger. Mills, Jordan. Molinaro, Jordan. Molinar, Jordan. Mooney, Jordan. Moore of Alabama, Jordan. Moore of Utah, Jordan. Moore of Wisconsin, Jeffries. Moran, Jordan. Morelli, Jeffries. Moskowitz, Jeffries. Moulton, Jeffries. Mervan, Jeffries. Mullen, Jeffries. Murphy, Jordan. Nadler, Jeffries. Napolitano, Jeffries. Neal, Jeffries. Neguse, Jeffries. Nels, Jordan. Newhouse, Jordan. Nickel, Jeffries. Norcross, Jeffries. Norman, Jordan. Nunn of Iowa, Jordan. Obernolte, Jordan. Ocasio-Cortez, Jeffries. Ogles, Jordan. Omar, Jeffries. Owens, Jordan. Pallone, Jeffries. Palmer, Jordan. Panetta, Jeffries. Pappas, Jeffries. Pasquarel. Jeffries. Payne. Payne. Pelosi. Jeffries. Peltola. Jeffries. Pence. Jordan. Perez. Perez. Jeffries. Perry. Jordan. Peters. Jeffries. Pedersen. Jeffries. Pfluger. Jordan. Phillips. Jeffries. Pingree. Jeffries. Pocan. Jeffries. Porter. Jeffries. Posey. Jordan. Presley. Jeffries. Quigley. Jeffries. Ramirez. Raskin. Jeffries. Reschenthaler. Jordan. Rogers of Washington. Jordan. Rogers of Alabama. Jordan. Rogers of Kentucky. Jordan. Rose. Jordan. Rosendale. Jordan. Ross. Jeffries. Rouser. Jordan. Roy. Jordan. Ruiz. Jeffries. Rupersberger. Jeffries. Rutherford. Scalise.
Wow, folks. Wow.
Ryan.
19
Jeffries.
no votes against
Salazar.
Jim Jordan right
Jordan.
there. You add to the
Salinas.
total of no votes from
Jeffries.
yesterday,
Sanchez.
Congress member Vern Buchanan,
Jeffries.
Ferguson, and Miller Meeks
Santos.
are added to the list.
Jordan.
George Santos is such a clown. Vern
Sarbanes.
Buchanan, Ferguson, Miller Meeks, and Jordan flipped
Jeffries.
one person who was a no yesterday
Scalise.
to a yes today, Congress member
Jordan.
LaMalfa.
Scanlon. Jeffries.
But clearly, Jim Jordan
Chakowski.
is not going to prevail, and
Jeffries.
indeed looks again like
Schiff.
Hakeem Jeffries will receive more
Jeffries.
votes this round.
Snyder.
We'll see what then happens. Will the House
Jeffries.
Republicans adjourn,
Sultan.
go into caucus to try to figure out what
Jeffries.
to do next?
Schreier.
We will keep you posted. But
Jeffries.
ultimately, where I think this is headed,
Schweikert.
to a privileged resolution
Jordan.
to temporarily empower Patrick McHenry, the
Austin
Speaker
Scott.
pro temp. But we will see if that's what happens. That's
Jordan.
my prediction of what will happen.
David Scott.
We'll see if that no vote number goes above where it was yesterday at
Jeffries.
20 no votes. Right now it's at
Scott of
19
Virginia.
no votes. And we
Jeffries.
still have to hear from
Self.
Simpson,
Jordan.
Womack, and Spars.
Sessions.
So I think that could get as high
Jordan.
as 22, but we will see. I'm looking
Sewell.
for
Jeffries. Sherman.
see what Simpson does
Jeffries.
next.
Sherrill. Jeffries. Simpson. Scalise.
Okay, there's, as I mentioned, Simpson voting for Scalise. So 3 additional no votes today from where it was
Slotkin.
yesterday, and 1 person
Jeffries.
flipped, Congressman LaMalfa, who then voted
Smith
for
of
Jim
Missouri.
Jordan. So there could be, as of
Jordan.
now, up to 22 no
Smith of
votes.
Nebraska.
Right
Jordan.
now, we're the same place we were
Smith
yesterday.
of New Jersey.
What I'm looking for, though,
Jordan.
is
Smith of Washington.
Womack
Jeffries.
and Spars.
Smucker. Jordan. Sorensen. Jeffries. Soto. Jeffries. Spanberger. Jeffries. Sparts. Sparts. Stansberry. Jeffries.
So Sparts did not vote yet. We will
Stanton.
let you know as soon as Sparts votes. But
Jeffries.
look, this is yet another humiliating defeat for Jim Jordan. We're at the same number we were at yesterday. Wow, 21 right there. Yeah, that was Congressmember Stauber. Add him to the list
Jordan.
of
Stefanik.
additional no votes. He
Jordan.
voted for Westerman.
Style.
So another no vote. We are at a point right now where there are more no votes today
Jordan.
than there were yesterday for Jim
Stevens.
Jordan. So in a
Jeffries.
24-hour period, it's become more
Strickland.
humiliating for Jim Jordan, folks.
Jeffries. Strong. Jordan. Swalwell. Jeffries. Sykes. Jeffries. Takano. Jeffries. Tenney. Jordan. Tanadar. Jeffries. Thompson of California. Jeffries. Thompson of Mississippi. Jeffries. Thompson of Pennsylvania. Jordan. Tiffany. Jordan. Timmons. Jordan. Titus.
So next, folks, I'm looking at
Jeffries.
Womack. Congressmember
Killeen.
Womack, Republican, who voted against Jim Jordan, to take that number
Killeen.
up to 22. Spars hasn't voted
Caputa.
yet, but she voted against Jordan. That would take
Jeffries.
us to 23.
Tonko. Jeffries.
So let's pay attention and
Torres
see what
of
happens
California.
with Womack and Spars.
Jeffries.
Does anybody else?
Torres of New York. Jeffries. Trahan. Jeffries. Trone. Trone. Turner. Jordan. Underwood. Jeffries. Valadeo. Jordan. Van Drew.
The Honorable Jim Jordan.
Jordan. Van Dyne. Jordan. Van Orden. Jordan. Vargas. Jeffries. Vasquez. Jeffries. VC. Jeffries.
Let's get ready for Womack.
Velasquez. Jeffries. Wagner. Jordan. Wahlberg. Jordan. Waltz. Jordan. Wasserman Schultz. Jeffries. Waters. Jeffries. Watson Coleman. Jeffries. Weber of Texas. Jordan. Webster of Florida. Jordan. Winstrup. Jordan. Westerman. Jordan. Wexton. Jeffries. Wild. Jeffries. Williams of Georgia. Jeffries. Williams of New York. Jordan. Williams of Texas. Jordan. Wilson of Florida. Jeffries. Wilson of South Carolina. Jordan. Whitman. Jordan. Womack. Scalise.
There's Womack as predicted, 22, and Congresswoman Spars has not yet voted. They're going
Yakum.
to call her name
Jordan.
at the end of this roll call.
Zinke.
She did the same thing yesterday, by the way. She
Jordan.
was not present. I don't know why. She wasn't present when her name was called, and then she voted at the end. And with Spars, that could take it to 23 no votes. So it went from 20 no votes yesterday against Jim Jordan, 23 no votes today. Apparently, Congresswoman Spars is just in the rotunda, just hanging out. Just hanging out. So on this round already, we've had 4 votes for Jim Jordan. Yesterday, flip to no votes against Jim Jordan. That's Vern Buchanan. That's Congressmember Ferguson, Congressmember Miller Meeks, and Congressmember Stauber voted for Jordan yesterday. Today, they voted against Jim Jordan. You had Congressmember LaMalfa, who voted against Jim Jordan yesterday, flipped and supported Jim Jordan today. Not quite sure why you would do that. You might as well be consistent with your no vote, but that's why we are where we are today with now 22 votes against Jim Jordan. What they're going to do is call the remaining roll for those who are
will now call the names of the members who did not answer the first call of the roll.
Payne. Jeffries. Sparts. Jordan.
So Sparts voted for Jim Jordan there. You can't really explain anything that she ever does, but she decided that she was going to vote for Jim Jordan now.
Tlaib.
Is that a pity vote?
Jeffries.
But now you have 22 against, and that'll probably be the final number right there. So 2 additional no's in the final
True.
tally against
Jeffries.
Jim Jordan, and it'll likely remain that way. Now they're going to do a final count, although it's obvious that Jim Jordan does not have the votes here. Will they be doing a third round right away? Will they be adjourning? I mean, look, Jim Jordan was only able to lose 4 total, and he wouldn't be able to become Speaker of the House. He lost 2 additional from the 20 that he had lost yesterday. And so there you have it. Jim Jordan with 199 votes for him as Speaker. Hakeem Jeffries with 212. And then you had 22 defectors. So no, unfortunately, this does not make Hakeem Jeffries the Speaker of the House based on the fact that you had 22 people vote for other people, and therefore Jeffries will not get to the magic number of 217 here to become Speaker of the House. But, pretty close. pretty close right there, Congressmember Jeffries. But this should make a pretty impactful statement right here again, that you have Congressmember Hakeem Jeffries trouncing Jim Jordan, where the Republicans control the majority in the House of Representatives. Folks, I'm Ben Meiselas. You're watching our continuing live coverage here on the MeidasTouch Network. Going into the vote today, as the official tally is now being counted, we told you to take a look at the list of 20. Here was the list we told you to look at going into today's vote count, because these were the 20 House GOP members who voted against Jim Jordan yesterday, and it largely remained the same. There were 2 individuals on this list who voted no for Jim Jordan, who voted yes for Jim Jordan today. That's Congressmember LaMalfa, and that is Congressmember Spars. However, the bad news for Jim Jordan is that 4 of the people who voted yes for him yesterday voted no for him today. Congressmember Vern Buchanan, Congressmember Ferguson, Congressmember Miller Meeks, Congressmember Stauber. So that's where you go from 20 no votes yesterday to 22 no votes today, as the final tally is being counted. Now, what a lot of people have proposed takes place is that there be an adjournment, and given that Jim Jordan does not have the votes, there is a compromise that's reached whereby Patrick McHenry, who's currently the Speaker pro temp, he's the person behind the American flag who you see with the gavel, that he become basically a temporary Speaker of the House, and extending his powers beyond the mere formality of being a Speaker pro tem, and empowering him to become a Speaker so House business can open up, and there could be things like appropriations bills and government funding and things like that. I mean, obviously, the most obvious solution here is Hakeem Jeffries could become Speaker of the House, but that's not going to happen, where the incentive structure in the Republican Party is just to attack and own the libs versus actually accomplish business for the American people. The next best kind of compromise would be forge a deal with some moderate Republican, although I'm not sure a moderate Republican exists anymore, and again, do the work for the American people. The third best thing, I think, is try to find some deal where Patrick McHenry, who you see right there standing in front of the American flag, can become a temporary Speaker of the House for a set period of time, and important packages like keeping our government open, and appropriations packages, and spending in Ukraine and Israel and elsewhere, that could all occur and take place, which will be interesting to see when that happens, how your other right-wing extremists respond and act to it, like Matt Gaetz and Jim Jordan. I think we have this photo of Matt Gaetz and Jim Jordan from yesterday that Matt Gaetz posted, where he said, "It's Speaker Jim Jordan Day." By the way, shout out to Jake Sherman there. If you don't follow Jake Sherman, you should. He and Punchbowl News are doing a great job. He's there on the House floor, and has some of the most up-to-date breaking news. But that's how Matt Gaetz posted, assuming that his plan of ousting Kevin McCarthy and then installing Jim Jordan, he thought that was going to work out. It did not work out, as some somewhat moderate Republicans ended up holding their ground. We did a hot take here on the MeidasTouch Network of how supporters of Jim Jordan were threatening the spouses, the husbands and wives of Republicans, and sending threatening emails to them. Vote for Jim Jordan or else. If you haven't seen that video, take a look at the videos we posted this morning on the MeidasTouch Network. And by the way, if you're here right now, please make sure you hit the subscribe button It's free to subscribe to our YouTube channel, so make sure you hit subscribe. And for those who are new to the MeidasTouch Network, we have breaking news video updates that get posted throughout the day. We're on our way to 2 million subscribers here in a short period of time. We are a pro-democracy, independent media company. We are not funded by any outside investors at all, zero. And right now, I'm proud to announce these stats as we look at bad stats for Jim Jordan, but good stats for democracy. The stats of the MeidasTouch Network on digital platforms. More people watch the MeidasTouch Network on digital platforms like YouTube than Fox or CNN. And that's thanks to all of you without any outside investors. If you want to support this independent media platform, again, because we don't have outside investors, one of the best ways you can do it, in addition to just sharing the video and subscribing, of course, and letting people know about, hey, there's this independent media network out there that does the things that I've always said that we need to replace legacy media with. But another way you can support it is by going to patreon.com/MeidasTouch, patreon.com/MEIDASTOUCH. That's patreon.com/MeidasTouch. Become a member of our Patreon. And I will just say to all of our patrons, as we wait for the final vote tally, for all of our patrons who are in the chat room right now, if you can share with others in the chat, if you think the Patreon experience and the exclusive content there is worth it. We spend a lot of time curating content. There's a once a month Zoom chat where you get to meet me and my brothers, and we answer all of the questions. And there's also exclusive after show content and more. So if you've enjoyed the Patreon and you're a member of our Patreon, number one, it's great because it allows us not to have outside investors, and we could fund this network and fund our operations. So one of the things we've built recently is MeidasTouch.com. Our incredible editor-in-chief, Ron Filipkowski. We got a great team of writers, editors there as well, and we've built that again with things like Patreon and other things. So if you go to patreon.com/MeidasTouch, all of the up-to-date news, by the way, is at MeidasTouch.com. So make MeidasTouch.com your homepage for all things pro-democracy. We've got a great team of writers, a great editorial team, as I've said, led by former Georgia prosecutor Ron Filipkowski, who I'm so honored to be our editor-in-chief. I'm sure you all know about Ron Filipkowski's great work. So MeidasTouch.com, go to patreon.com/MeidasTouch to support this independent media platform. And if you want to check out some of the MeidasTouch gear, go to store.MeidasTouch.com as well. We've got 100% made in the USA, 100% union made MeidasTouch gear, store.MeidasTouch.com. All right, I'll stop with the plugs, but if you can go to patreon.com/MeidasTouch, it'd be great. We are moments away from another gavel being banged down, representing more utter humiliation for Jim Jordan, somebody who spent his life covering up sexual abuse, supporting insurrections, and avoiding subpoenas, somebody who has never put forward any legislation in his career as a legislator, somebody who's always worked to spread conspiracies and division, a truly vile and despicable human being, frankly, a traitor to our country, Jim Jordan, who the Republicans, still 199 people voted, knowing that Jim Jordan's a traitor, knowing that he supports insurrection, knowing that he covered up sexual abuse. They still, 199 Republicans said, yep, that's my guy. Shout out to our incredible producer here, Salty, who was doing great work when the speech was given, the nominating speech for Jim Jordan. Salty, if you have some of those photos, as the Republicans were giving a nominating speech, Salty was putting up these images, kind of rebutting them one by one of who Jim Jordan is. And here are the images that Salty was putting up as they were saying, oh, Jim Jordan is a good man, an honest man, a mentor, a leader, an incredible gym coach. Salty was showing all of these news articles and clips showing that this is someone who covered up sexual abuse. This is someone who supported an insurrection. And then when you have the Republicans up there, like trying to lecture us all on fiscal conservatism. I mean, these are people who added $7.8 trillion to our deficit. If you go and look at their areas like this one, Ohio has the highest, and the city that Jim Jordan represents, it's like the highest murder rate. And it's like that with most of these Republicans as well. Like if you go to Kevin McCarthy's district, it's called Killing County. And it's just all projection, and it's all, how do you own the libs? Let's come up with solutions. Let's be solution oriented. Let's try to figure out how to resolve America's major problems and not just do what the MAGA Republicans do, just attack each other, attack Americans, attack Democrats, own the libs, talk about whatever ridiculous conspiracy, whatever gets them angry. Bud Light is angry. We're angry at Bud Light today. Or Target, we're angry at woke. Target's become woke, and the green M&M. And what's making us angry today? We're getting really angry at stoves, and Democrats are taking away your stoves. And it's just like, shut up. Respectfully, shut up. And let's focus on the issues that matter to American people. Let's focus on jobs, working conditions, lowering prescription drug prices, making education accessible and affordable to Americans, protecting Americans' freedoms, stopping these MAGA Republicans from controlling a woman's reproductive rights. Get out of the doctor's office. Get out of our bedrooms, MAGA Republicans. Get out. Focusing on protecting veterans, protecting seniors, protecting Social Security, protecting Medicare. By the way, you heard in the nominating speech for Jim Jordan, they all but basically said a vote for Jim Jordan is a vote to cut your Social Security and a vote to cut your Medicare. That's basically what the guy said. And that's why it's just important we focus on the data, listen to what they're saying, listen to the type of people that these MAGA Republicans want to hoist on us to control our lives. Sickening stuff. So as of right now, it is unclear if there will be a second vote, which would actually be the third vote if you count yesterday's vote as one, but if there will be another vote today, or if the Republicans are going to go into a private caucus again, where in the past they've had to have their cell phones confiscated because they were all afraid that they would be posting mean social media things about each other, because that's the level of maturity of these people who want to lecture us on how we should be living our lives. But as soon as we have some up-to-date information, we will keep you posted. This is what Jake Sherman had to say just now. He said, 22 votes against Jim Jordan is a huge number, but it's a lot better than some House Republicans had privately predicted. Jordan needs to decide whether he wants to go to a closed meeting or not, or run this vote again. There hasn't been much movement at all in Jordan's direction, and there is little evidence it will get better for him on the third go around. And I do want to reflect on something for a moment as I just read that, because this is what I was thinking. These are the Republicans, I said this before, but I think it bears mentioning again, who lecture us on how we should behave. These people who can't even pick their own leader and then try to pick someone who covers up sexual abuse to be their leader, knowing that. Someone who supports insurrection, knowing that. They're like, that's the guy. And then they attack each other, and they attack each other's wives. Then these people want to come around and they want to say, here's how you need to live. You're not being responsible. You need to take personal responsibility. This is pathetic. It's pathetic. Here's where we are as well. Right now, what we're waiting for, House Republicans are waiting on Jim Jordan to decide his next move. I'm not even sure Jim Jordan's is playing checkers here, but that's what we're waiting on. Is Jim Jordan going to force a third round, which I'm all for it. Let's, seeing Jim Jordan humiliated more and more is a great way I spend my morning and my afternoon, spending it with all of you, the Midas Mighties. It's an honor. It's an honor. So I'm all for it. If they were being responsible, though, that's not exactly the approach I would take. I think they should go in private and maybe have a talk amongst yourselves and maybe try to forge a compromise for the American people. So that's what we are waiting on right now. And while we're waiting on that, might as well show you a powerful interview that was given last night. This is by someone on the wrestling team where Jim Jordan covered up the sexual abuse, someone by the name of Will Knight. Let me show you this clip because you have the Republicans over and over again continue to cite that Jim Jordan's experience as a wrestling coach is what makes him qualified to become the Speaker of the House. Well, you have members of his wrestling team who are the victims of sexual abuse who vehemently disagree. This is someone who has caused them a great degree of horrifying trauma, and someone who is unfit to have any position, yet alone Speaker of the House. All right, before showing you that clip, it looks like there's some activity going on the House floor. Patrick McHenry looks like he's getting ready to speak. Let's go to the House floor.
The House will come to order. The tellers agree in their tallies that the total number of votes cast is 433, of which the Honorable Jim Jordan of the state of Ohio has received 199. The Honorable Hakeem Jeffries of the state of New York has received 212. The Honorable Kevin McCarthy of the state of California has received 5. The Honorable Byron Donalds of the state of Florida has received 1. The Honorable Tom Emmer of the state of Minnesota has received 1. Lee Zeldin of the state of New York has received 3. The Honorable Steve Scalise of the state of Louisiana has received 7. The Honorable Mike Garcia of the state of California has received 1. Candace Miller of the state of Michigan has received 1. John Boehner of the state of Ohio has received 1. The Honorable Kay Granger of the state of Texas has received 1. The Honorable Bruce Westerman of the state of Arkansas has received 1. No person having received a majority of the whole number of votes cast by surname, a speaker has not been elected. Pursuant to Clause 12A of Rule 1, the chair declares the House in recess, subject to the call of the chair.
And that's
So
end
the House
result.
will now recess. Will now be in recess. So clearly they're not going for another vote as of now. Republicans are going to huddle up in their private caucus room where they're going to confiscate their cell phones. I had a chuckle there where you had John Boehner, the old Speaker of the House from the Republicans' name was called, and it got a round of applause from everybody. And Patrick McHenry was like, okay. And you saw him there too when he grimaced when the Democratic leader, Hakeem Jeffries, received more votes than Jim Jordan. And you literally see it in Patrick McHenry's face, how embarrassed he feels to even have to be there. Let's try to take you to some of the most up-to-date news right now that we know about. Of course, the House is going into recess. We were waiting to see what Jim Jordan's next move was going to be. Obviously, his move is not call another vote right now. It's subject to the call of the chair. So we will be hearing more. We'll be giving you more updates as we learn throughout the day. But that's where we're at right now. I want to thank everybody for watching our coverage here on the MeidasTouch Network. It's always an honor to watch Jim Jordan get humiliated with you. He definitely deserves that. But look, in all seriousness, we also we need serious people right now, and this Republican Party is just not made up of serious people. Enough with the own the libs, enough with the attack Dems and this and that, and this kind of Donald Trumpian weird crap. It's old. We're done with it. Most of us were done with it forever, always, and we're done with it. We're through with it. So grow up, stop acting like third grade fascist babies, and get your shit together, Republicans, and do your freaking job. Do your job. Americans deserve real leadership. And fortunately, in the Democratic Party today, in a pro-democracy coalition made up of Democrats, independents, real conservatives who are not this MAGA mutation, there are people who want to come up with serious solutions, but none of this Trump reality show crap. Okay, grow up. That's my final message there as of now. Please join us again as if there's another vote, and as we learn more, we'll go live again. But I would ask you, if you can, make sure you hit subscribe if you're not already subscribed. Let people know about the MeidasTouch Network. That's one of the best ways you can help out. Tell people to subscribe. Tell them that this is the media network that I always wanted to watch, a media network that just tells it how it is and is pro-democracy and doesn't both sides it. And that's why we created this thing here. So please share it with people if you can. And if you're able to support this media network and you have the ability, no worries if you can't. But if you can, now's the time. Go to patreon.com/MeidasTouch. Just search for it right now. patreon.com/MEIDASTOUCH, patreon.com/MeidasTouch. Become a patron of the network. We don't have outside investors. And again, I'd ask anybody who's a member of our Patreon right now, if the exclusive content there is worth it, please, you can share it in the chat now in case there are people who are on the fence. That's patreon.com/MeidasTouch. Thank you all so much for watching our continuing coverage of the Speaker of the House vote. Jim Jordan. Once again, you humiliated MAGA Republicans are making history yet again for their complete and utter chaos, complete and utter embarrassment. But folks, the pro-democracy community that you are a part of, the Meidas Mighty, is watching. We are sharing this with friends, family members, coworkers, neighbors, everybody in our lives to let them know what is really going on. So thank you for all the work that you do in spreading the truth. We'll see you next time as we go live again. I'm Ben Meiselas. This was a special report from the MeidasTouch Network. Shout out to the Meidas Mighty.
Hey Meidas Mighty, love this report? Continue the conversation by following us on Instagram @MeidasTouch to keep up with the most important news of the day. What are you waiting for? Follow us now.